So, I was a Boy Scout growing up. I'm not sure if there are any of you still out there, but I absolutely loved it. It was just a terrific way to learn about the outdoors and pick up a bunch of useful man skills, like things like tying knots, building fires, skinning gophers. Okay, calm down. We didn't actually do that last one. But my favorite part of being a Boy Scout was every summer we would spend a week at Camp Geronimo, which is up near Payson. It was just 6 solid days of wilderness heaven. And the only issue I had at this camp was the rock climbing and rappelling wall. If you've been to camp with us, you've probably experienced like the same kind of thing. There's the wall and you're harnessed in, you have the weird looking helmet, and you scurry up the side of it like a monkey. Yeah, good times. But I'm gonna be real with you for a second. I don't love heights. I don't love them now, and I loved them even less back then. Now, the climbing part wasn't too bad, right? Like you're focused on the foot and the handholds, and most of the time you're looking up instead of down, and I could kind of just pretend like I wasn't way up in the air and one misstep away from certain death. But at CCV's camps, once you conquer the climbing wall, you go to the zip line, right? It's super fun. You're harnessed in, you just kind of chill out and fly for a minute. It's wonderful. Well, at Camp Geronimo, no such luck, my friend. Once you reached the summit of the wall, which was roughly 30 feet in the air but felt more like 1,000, you would now have to rappel back down the other smooth side of the wall. This is by far the scariest part. If you've never tried to rappel, here's the deal. You stand at the top, and they check your harness and the rope and everything, and then you slowly back up so that your heels hang off the edge of the wall. And then you have to sit back into the nothingness of space. You have nothing but a rope to hang on to, and it's like you're trying to sit in an invisible chair off the edge of a 30-foot tall tower. I'm getting sweaty just thinking about this. But here's what's so tricky about this. Your instincts, like the part of your brain that tries to keep you from dying, is trying to keep you from leaning back. So you want to try to stay really close to the wall and almost like slide down on your face, but that never works. You'll actually hurt yourself if you try to do it that way. Until you can force yourself to sit back and lean into the harness, you will be stuck at the top of that wall. And I won't lie to you. I definitely spent some time at the top of that wall just being frozen in fear, unwilling to sit back and to start moving down the wall. And the reason I tell you any of that is because I think that image, that picture of being stuck at the top of the tower, unable to get moving, is a great picture of what can happen in our relationship with Jesus sometimes. Like every one of us can find ourselves in a place with our faith where we're just kind of frozen. We're not making any progress. Like sure, we'd call ourselves a Christian, and we might even pray when we really need something, or maybe we were all fired up right after camp, but then we just kind of get busy and distracted. And if we're really honest, we're just kind of standing still with Jesus. We're up there holding the rope, and we can't seem to make ourselves sit back and get moving. Well, in this series, we're gonna challenge you to break out of that. We're gonna challenge you to sit back off the wall and get moving again. Because here's the truth. When it comes to following Jesus, there is no standing still. You're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. You can't just stop and freeze and say like this is good enough for me right here. God is always calling us to keep moving, to be a difference maker, and that requires that we continue to grow as Christ followers. Every time we take a step in God's direction, there's another step to be taken. It's actually what makes following Jesus so exciting. He guides us along step by step, and we get to know him better along the way. Okay, but what do we do? Like the whole idea of following Jesus and continuing to make progress can sound really overwhelming, can't it? I get it. Believe me, I get it. So here's what we're gonna do. Today and then next week, we're gonna break down the 2 simplest things you can do to keep your faith growing. These are 2 habits that a Christ follower never outgrows. If you will dive into these 2 things and just make them a part of your regular life, it will help you avoid getting stuck. And as we look at each one, we'll also give you a super clear challenge that you can act on next week. No waiting around, no hoping that someday you're ready. Like everyone in the room can take this challenge each week, and I promise you'll see progress in your relationship with Jesus. So today, let's dive into it. Today, I want to talk about training. Now, when I say the word training, it's possible that you think of something lame, like when you first sign up to volunteer somewhere, or if maybe your older brother or sister has gotten a job, there's that period right at the beginning where you're in training, and it basically means you don't know how to do anything yet, and you have to watch training videos and be trained on how to flip the perfect McDonald's burger, like take the dirty spatula, flip the garbage meat, give the people diarrhea. It's too far? That was probably too far. But eventually, you graduate from training, and you don't have to be trained anymore. That is not the type of training I'm talking about. No, what I'm talking about is the training that's more like what an athlete does. Every top-level athlete trains for their sport. They don't just practice the game itself, they do a whole bunch of stuff and other types of training to make them better or to keep them at the top of their game. They're in the weight room, they're running sprints, they're making sure their diet is just perfectly dialed in. They are constantly trying to improve their performance on the field through training off the field. What does that have to do with following Jesus? Well, there's actually this awesome section of the Bible where the Apostle Paul, who was like one of the biggest deals when Christianity was just getting started, he tells us that we should think of following Jesus the same way an athlete thinks about training for competition. Check this out. It's found in 1 Corinthians chapter 9. Don't you realize that in a race, everyone runs, but only one person gets the prize? So run to win. All athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize that will fade away, but we do it for an eternal prize. Guys, this is such a brilliant analogy that Paul makes because we can all just clearly see what he's talking about. If you wanted to be the best at your sport, you wouldn't just sit on the couch shoving Doritos and Mountain Dew into your face day after day, and then show up for the big game or the tournament and expect to dominate. I mean, you might show up expecting that, but we all know it wouldn't go well for you. No, if you want to be the best that you can be, you need to keep training. And when it comes to following Jesus, Paul says the same thing is true. If we want to really live the kind of exciting and adventurous life that Jesus calls us to, then it's going to take some training. If we think like, oh, I went to camp, I made a decision, I got baptized, and now I just kind of come to church when I can and I pray when I need help, but most of the time I don't really think about God at all. If that's you, you're not going to experience all the awesome things that God has planned for you. And listen, if that does sound a lot like you, there is no judgment coming from me. I spent a lot of years in that exact same situation. But please hear me when I say that I look back now and I realize how wasted those years were. I was missing out on so many of the incredible things that God wanted to do in my life because I wasn't taking it seriously. I wasn't training. Okay, but like what does training look like when it comes to following Jesus? I mean, obviously we're not talking about wind sprints and deadlifts, right? Deadlifts, Jesus! Well, here's the deal. There are actually a lot of different things we could do to train in our relationship with Jesus, but today I want to focus on the two habits that I believe are the most crucial to really starting to live the amazing life Jesus wants to give you. These are two activities that every single Jesus follower in the room, student or coach, should make the foundation of their spiritual training. Ready? It's simple. Read the Bible and pray daily. I told you, simple. Every day, read a little bit of the Bible and talk to God. Which leads me right to the challenge for this week. Okay, here's the deal. We have written a short and simple 1-week Bible reading plan for you. It'll take you 5 minutes max to read through each day, and then it'll remind you to pray for a couple minutes after that. What if every last junior high student and coach on all of our campuses took the challenge and read their Bible and prayed every day this week? I bet we'd come back next week with a ton of cool stories about things that we learned, what God showed us, how we grew in our faith. It's 7 short sessions over 7 days that could seriously change things for all of us. Even if you're still kind of figuring out what you believe about Jesus, take this challenge with us anyway. It just might help you find some of the answers that you've been looking for. So if you have a phone, an iPod, a tablet, or even if you have access to a computer at home, you can do this challenge. Get the YouVersion Bible app, your coach can help you in a minute, or go to Bible.com on your computer and start the Challenge Accepted prayer plan. All right, your coaches can also send you a link in your group time. Start that plan tomorrow and come back next week ready to talk with your group about how this week of training affected you. So, are you ready? Will you accept the challenge? I'll say it again. When it comes to following Jesus, you're either moving forward or you're going backwards. Let's all move forward together this week.